good night vision course shouldn't just throw people right in to the mix. You know, it's important to go over all these fundamentals for both safety and refamiliarization. You know, do some fitting of all the gear. Do a little bit of, you know, walking blindfolded. Do some dry fire. Do some functional movements to make sure the gear retention is all good and nothing's going to fall out. Function test everything, you know, before going live fire. Do a little bit of dry fire first too, and then follow it up next with live fire just for the benefit of recoil control and, you know, confirming zeros and such. But again, you know, don't just, it's not good just to throw somebody right into shooting and expect them to be successful. That training buildup of getting the gear adjusted and all that will help them be more successful and reinforce those preliminary, you know, and preparation items that need to be done, you know, before heading off in the wilderness with night vision. Proper shooting stance. You know, this is real fundamental, but, you know, when people are under fatigue, they can sometimes get it wrong, or when they're focused on other things. Probably the best way to demonstrate this is the shooting stance is a fighting stance. You know, your torso's, for the most part, squared up with your target. This gives you rotational movement of your torso left and right to quickly and immediately engage additional targets to your left and right. The shooter has 1 foot back, similarly to as a boxer would, to help with that recoil control. You know, and this stance will also transition well while moving. And we'll get into that a little bit. There's different moving techniques. Those are often covered in advanced courses, but it's basically, you know, different ways to keep the rifle stable while moving. Now, one of the aspects of night vision shooting is the sighting methods. You don't need to always have that rifle shouldered. Here the shooter has it shouldered because he's using his red dot sight. Alternatively, if he's using his laser sight, he can fire it from the hip, or he can place that buttstock center chest. Whatever works. You know, he could even, you know, look through a peephole on a wall and then move that rifle out to the outside edge of the wall and shoot around the wall. You know, using a laser, you know, that active aiming, whether it's visible or IR, really gives you a lot more shooting positions as far as how that rifle is being held. There's a lot of options. Now here the shooter is demonstrating proper safety manipulation as well as proper white light usage for what's otherwise a very simple drill. You know, just raising the rifle, shooting, and lowering the rifle. But at night, you know, he's additionally using that white light. Now the key here, while trying to remain undetectable, is to use that white light as little as possible, only when necessary. So you can see here that he brings the rifle up, gets it aimed to where he knows his target's at, and he only engages that white light, as you can see, once he's already aimed on or near the target. If he needs to take a half second after he turns on that white light just to make a quick adjustment to aim on target, you can see he made a quick adjustment and then fired. Now what he's not doing is just leaving the white light on when it doesn't need to be on. He's turning it on when he's ready to engage that target, when the rifle's up and aiming at the target. Now here the shooter's going to demonstrate basically shooting at a close range target using a laser. This target has a background, so he can go ahead and raise the rifle up to his shoulder and engage it. And as you can see, he's just using the laser just to double check to make sure that he is aiming at that target. Now in some situations you want to be extra careful about where you're aiming. If there's innocent bystanders nearby, or maybe something that you want to make sure you don't miss that target to damage something near the target, you want to make sure you got a good shot. So he's just using that laser just to confirm a really accurate center mass point of aim before he shoots. Now otherwise, in this type of situation, it may not matter that, you know, he misses a few times and then he doesn't even need the laser. He can just index his rifle up, do a rapid fire burst, and he can be pretty confident that one of those rapid fire bursts is going to hit his target, because as you can see, his indexing, his gun is always on target as soon as he turns on that laser. Now, with further distances from the target, he may not be able to index and hit that target every time. So he may need to start with the laser on the ground below the target and walk that laser up to the target. There's also other reasons why walking the laser up to the target may be beneficial. Some of those are if the target has no background, that laser gets lost behind off the edges of the target. When there's no background to see the laser, it just disappears. So in that case, you want to walk that laser up to the target. Another consideration too is if that's a moving target, that laser may not work very effectively for you because you've still got to lead that target if it's pretty far and pretty fast. So in that case, you can have your laser on that target, the bullets are still going behind it. In that situation, stop using the laser and transition to your red dot sight to give that moving target, the fast moving target that's quite distant, the right amount of moving target lead that it needs. Now, one thing I want to talk about additionally is some of the products that are available for Surefire lights and at-peel lasers. The Steiner laser port will work with some of these switches that'll give you a single button to activate both the laser and the light at the same time. That's very important because when you go to a white light override, if you're shining your white light on a target, it doesn't hurt to also have that laser going. And if you're using your red dot sight, that's fine, but as long as that laser's on, you may decide just to use that laser to engage that immediate threat for white light override. Specifically, this D-Ball A3 gives you a white light override feature, but you can basically have a pressure switch, maybe running your IR settings, or you can just run your IR settings, off the button, and then a secondary pressure switch go into your white light override that's also the same switch is tapped into the tail cap on a Surefire light. As you can see here, this little marking that says visible override, that's going to be your port for whatever switch you want while you're using an IR, and then when you're ready to go to a visible override, you hit the switch that's plugged into here. It's going to give you green laser, and if that particular switch also has another down lead to run a Surefire tail cap, it's going to give you white light as well, all in one button push with an immediate white light override. Extremely important addition to have, and something that I'll be adding to this rifle. Now with white light overrides, there's obviously not going to be time to go from your night vision, to white light while that night vision's blocking your vision. So what I'd suggest is just having the ability to lift your head up a little bit to look underneath that night vision. It may be hard to use your red dot sight by doing this, but your laser is going to help you a lot. It just takes too much time sometimes to flip up that night vision, and it requires you to take a hand off your rifle to do that. You want to be able to do a white light override immediately and immediately engage that threat. So keep your hands on the rifle, engage the target, tilt your head up just a little bit, and engage that target. Maybe you're just index shooting, and that's fine too, but speed is the key. Get those goggles just out of your line of sight, enough to engage that target. All right, now we're getting ready to shoot. We've done some dry fire drills. We're confident, the shooter has the ability to do these safely. It's always good, again, don't just throw somebody into shooting night vision, work them up to it. A couple dry fire drills may identify some problems that aren't based off the shooter's skill. The shooter's totally capable as far as his skill. There may be a piece of gear that prevents him from raising the rifle up, and it's better to identify that during some dry fire. That'll help the shooter save ammo and help everybody save a little bit of embarrassment. Just a little bit of dry fire, helps a lot. What the shooter's doing now is he's going to check to make sure that his laser is zeroed up with his red dot. He knows his red dot is zeroed. Sometimes these quick detach lasers, they generally hold a pretty good zero unless they've been switched between different rifles and re-zeroed. So he's shining the laser off at a distance on a tree line, and he's just going to simply make sure that 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 laser at distance does realign with the red dot sight. Now, if he were to shine that laser at this close silhouette target just in front of him, there is going to be a little offset between that red dot sight and that laser. Now there's all different kinds of offsets. People can set those to what they need, and that's really up to the user. But just understand there is an offset and understand how to confirm that zero. All right, we're ready to move into some shooting. Shooter's now chambered around, and he's just going to go ahead and shoot at the steel a few times. And again, just verify the zero. Again, we're just starting off slow, and then we're going to work our way into some more advanced stuff. All right, now we're still doing some white light practice. This shooter's going to do a double tap. And he executed that perfectly. You know, the speed doesn't always come at first. As long as he's smooth and he's got good recoil control, the speed will come later. Again, we're just building those fundamental skills slowly, and it will speed up later. All right, now in this drill, the shooter is going to use the laser, but he's going to do it fast because he's pretty good at indexing at this distance on that target. That was a successful and very fast double pair. Basically index shooting, but just verifying that index by making sure that he just sees that laser's there for just a split second. He goes ahead and shoots. Shooter, are you ready?
Yes.
Shoot. Shooter is repositioning himself. Right now, the shooter is transitioned to night vision. The shooter is shooting right now under night vision, utilizing an infrared laser. Now, many of these same shooting drills that we've done with white light, we're doing those with night vision now. And that's simply because, you know, the same threat requires the same response. You know, these are the same drills. That target could white light the shooter, and he will need to, you know, shoot quickly, move and relocate, and white light that target and do all the same stuff. As well as going back to night vision after he's done white lighting and all that to relocate. It's all the same skills. We're just now doing them under night vision. The night vision does offer some flexibility to the shooter when utilizing that IR laser. If he can shoot it from the hip, he can put that buttstock center chest while it's collapsed. Although while shooting on the move, the most stable position is having that buttstock collapsed, center chest. Trying to shoot from the hip while moving is just very unstable. Shooter, are you ready?
Yes.
Shoot. Scanning left, scanning right. Shooter, are you ready?
Yes.
Shoot. Shooter, are you ready?
Yes.
Shoot. Shooter scanning left and right, confirming the threat area is clear. All right, this next drill is shooting while on the move. Shooter will be shooting on command of the instructor. Now this target is actually pretty close. I think again it's like 25 yards, so it, you know, gives enough distance for the shooter to approach. Just for safety, we don't get too close. We make sure there's nothing directly left and right of the target that shrapnel spall from the bullet could damage. And we also make sure there's no trip hazards. pretty basic stuff. It's always good to have these safety measures in place. All right, this is shooting on the move with white light, utilizing the red dot sight. This doesn't need to be done fast. You know, slow is fine and the speed will come later. All right, shooter, are you ready?
Yes.
Start walking. Shoot. Shooter is searching and assessing. The danger area is clear. All right, we're going to do the same drill. This is shooting on the move. However, this time the shooter is utilizing his night vision with the IR aiming laser. And in some ways, this is easier for the shooter. The shooter can place that buttstock wherever he needs to for better stability. The buttstock doesn't have to be in his shoulder because he's not utilizing the red dot sight here for passive night vision aiming or white light aiming, visible aiming. He's using the IR laser on the rifle, so he can place that buttstock wherever on his torso. Shooter, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, start walking. Shoot. Shooter scanning left, scanning right, making sure the danger area is clear. Thanks for watching part 3 of the basic night vision shooting course video. Please keep an eye out for additional videos on advanced night vision techniques.